Hey there, Renegades! Welcome to the Monster Menace Primer video essay. I'm your community specialist, Rena Amaranthine, and I'm so excited to tell you all about our recent release, Monsters Menace the World. Let's start with the basics. Monsters Menace the World is a 2 to 4 player, 90-minute session game designed by Marcus E. Birchers. In this video, we'll be talking about 1. The world, the history of the game line, 2. The menace, the basics of gameplay, and 3. The monsters, information about each of the playable monsters, and the minions too. You can order the game right now using the link in the description box down below. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, that way you can keep up to date with all of our new releases and any fun additional Renegade Games content. Now, let's enter the Monsterverse. The year is 2005. YouTube is brand new, all the cool kids have a Motorola Razr, and the best show on TV, maybe ever, is American Idol. Oh, and there are giant monsters rampaging across America. Gargantus, Toxicor, Tomonaji, and others have wrought havoc across the United States as the rest of the world watched in absolute horror. This event became known as the 2005 Rampage. From San Francisco to New York, tons of American cities and landmarks were demolished in this devastating tragedy. However, after a stunning battle for supremacy, the monster simply disappeared into the wilderness, leaving the world to pick up the pieces. Every good monster story has rich origins, and a game about a lot of monsters is no exception. Monsters Menace the World is actually an adaptation of the 1998 Avalon Hill game Monsters Ravage America by J.C. Connors and Ben Knight. In the original version of the game, players took on the role of monsters and battled until 20 cities were reduced to rubble, and the winner was crowned king of the giant monsters. 7 years later, in 2005, Connors and Knight designed a new version of the game, called Monsters Menace America. Aha! Monsters Menace America was truly a beauty of board game design. Using bright colors and a gritty comic style, it drew in anyone who'd ever watched a Godzilla movie. For Monsters Menace the World, the art is done by Matt Frank with Tommy Shelton. Matt Frank is a comic book artist who specializes in kaiju artwork. Known around the world, his work appears in multiple Godzilla comics, no surprises there, and we are so lucky to be working with him and Tommy Shelton on this game. Monsters Menace the World really benefits from this cool, retro vibe with harsh lines and pops of color. The original game came with miniatures of the monsters you could play. This is not one of them, this is an example. Which added an extra level of fun, and also gave you a little conch to keep on your mantelpiece. Keeping in the spirit of the 2005 edition, in this new adaptation we've included sculpted miniatures for each of the 6 monsters. These detailed miniatures are sure to look great on the table, and add a fun touch to the gameplay experience. There's also pieces for the military factions, so be sure to make plenty of space for game night. Sorry, military factions. Monsters Menace the World is perfect for fans of kaiju and retro monsters like Godzilla, King Kong, Mothra, you name it. You'll notice that a lot of the monsters in this game draw inspiration from some of the most famous monsters that have graced our screens and comic book pages. 20 years after the 2005 Rampage, the colossal creatures have emerged from hiding and discovered the rest of the world. Now, all of humanity is threatened by their gargantuan struggle for power. This game is exactly what it says on the box. Each player controls a monster that they use to menace the world in order to gain infamy. And to prevent your opponents from gaining infamy, players also control one military faction in hopes of slowing down or stopping them from getting an advantage. Gaining infamy is simple. Stomp cities, mutate, defeat other monsters, all your classic monster kaiju actions. On your turn, you'll be able to move your monster, fight, resolve encounters, and deploy military units. When a monster enters a territory, if it can overcome all the obstacles found there, it reaps the rewards. That's, the city stomping and mutating stuff. After that, it's time for your military to act. Deploy units to combat other players' monsters and thwart any attempts at gaining infamy. One of the many great things about this game is that there's no player elimination. It's no fun to get really into a game just to be knocked down for the count. Luckily, in Monsters Menace the World, if your monster is defeated, they go back to the monster lair, they take a little nap maybe, and they rejoin the fight in the next turn. At the end of the game, the player with the most infamy wins. Why do we care about infamy? Who even are these monsters? Let's find out. While it may be easy to empathize with the poor humans being affected by such tragedies, real monster fans know that the star of a monster movie is, of course, the monster. So, who are these monsters menacing the world? What are their abilities? What are their origins? What are their star signs? I don't know their star signs, but I can give you some more info about the monsters themselves. In this game, you'll be able to play as 6 major monsters: Tomonaji, Conk, Zorb, Stragoika, Chupacoloso, and Nessie are your main playable monsters. And there are 10 Minion monsters. Let's start with the big lizard himself. Tomonaji was the last of his kind, a Tomonajisaurus, a Triassic dinosaur large enough to dine on several Tyrannosaurus rex each day. Ugh. Originally, he was awoken by a giant tsunami off the coast of Japan, and was one of the first monsters to assert his dominance in the years that followed. Attempts to nuke him with cruise missiles in the 2005 rampage resulted in him spawning an offspring. Baby Tomonaji. He's so cute. If Tomonaji seems familiar to you eagle-eyed old-school gamers out there, that's because he's one of the 3 playable monsters making a return from the 2005 game Monsters Menace America, and he's reprising his role as a total menace. Tomonaji is partially aquatic, so upon retreating, he's able to heal and take a parting shot if he's fleeing to the ocean. He may be slow and bulky, so he starts with fewer attacks, but in exchange, each hit does more damage. His mutations tie into these 2 attributes: Atomic Breath, which gives him an additional attack, while Fins and Gills give him additional movement in the ocean. Let's just say, you wouldn't want to try out swimming him. Up next, we have another familiar face, Conk, who is much more agile than Tomonaji, and also from Monsters Menace America, is the offspring of giant prehistoric apes found on a small craggy island near Cuba. He was captured by the owners of a Florida theme park, but escaped into the wild soon afterwards. He spent much of the 2005 rampage kidnapping friends and stealing barges for fun. He also enjoys playing with rockets. Being more agile, his unique ability allows him to swat down attacking fighters or incoming rockets with ease. In terms of his personality, he's less overtly hostile to humans, probably from all his time at the theme park. Furthermore, Conk can get a mutation that allows him to move through spaces occupied by the military without causing a battle. But his other mutations mean that he can go into a combat rage as well. He gains extra attacks with Berserk and extra battles with Rampage. But is that really what you want? Our final returning monster is none other than Zorb. A being of mysterious origin, Zorb was once thought to be an alien from the planet Opticus Omega. It grew to an immense size after being the subject of radiation experiments at Area 51. During the 2005 rampage, it was discovered that it is at least partially robotic. As a robotic alien, Zorb is precise. It has lower damage, but its unique special ability lets it re-roll attacks, so attacks hit far more frequently. Its horrific alien physiology gives it mutation enhancements like whip tentacles, allowing for extra attacks, and winged horror, which causes human military to retreat before it. And along with our returning monsters, we have 3 brand new beasts for you. They weren't in either previous entry of the series, and we are so excited to introduce them. So first off, Nessie! Once thought to be nothing more than a Scottish legend, Nessie hid within the depths of Loch Ness for millions of years after her species became extinct at the end of the Mesozoic era. A unique blend of radiation exuded from the vents beneath the loch extended Nessie's lifespan and allowed her to grow to her titanic size. She finally emerged because she was tired of all the pesky humans taking grainy photographs of her, which, fair enough, the pics do not do her justice. Nessie is, as you can infer, based off of the Loch Ness Monster. And while she comes from fresh water, she's totally capable of benefiting from ocean spaces. Nessie's special ability lets her attack from an ocean space during the move phase, while her Thing from Below mutation lets her get back into the ocean after encountering a space to set up her next turn. She also has the Fins and Gills mutation to enhance her ocean attacks even more. The next of the new entries is Strigoika. The Amazon is home to many mysteries and undiscovered species. Even after decades of study, one such long-overlooked species was Strigoika, a giant vampire bat. He's been worshipped by cults in the heart of the Amazon for centuries. This arrangement suited Strigoika just fine, as it has provided him with easy access to food and adoration, which, me too. Me too. Now, however, he has ventured beyond his jungle realm to satiate himself on his fellow monsters. Strigoika's special ability was one of the first ones designed by Birchers, and largely remained unchanged through the entire design process and testing. He has the lowest starting health and can be pretty fragile early on, but don't count him out. Strigoika's special ability lets him gain health whenever he defeats a military unit. Similarly, his vampiric recovery mutation lets him return to his starting health value on each of his turns if he becomes the focus of attacks. To represent his monstrous nature, military retreat before his winged horror mutation, and potentially die of fright once he gets the seething terror mutation. With all these scary monsters everywhere, one has to wonder, will the hunters ever be hunted? Let's talk about Chupacoloso. With the reappearance of many colossal monsters, it was only a matter of time before one of them became an apex predator. A hunter of the hunters. The Chupacoloso seems to be related to the legendary Chupacabra, or perhaps those legends are based on fleeting sightings of the feline Chupacoloso. Either way, he has very little use for humans. His thirst is for monster flesh. Occupying a unique niche of playable monsters, Chupacoloso is very focused on seeking out other monsters to combat and defeat. His special ability actually makes it harder for him to hit military units, incentivizing him to focus his attacks on other monsters and their minions. He has the most starting attacks, and gets even more when only attacking monsters. His mutations similarly make him a more deadly predator. High-octane blood increases his movement and defense against other monsters, while war spikes increase his ability to deal damage, both to monsters and the military if he does hit them. Now, those are our main playable monsters. But I did mention minions, didn't I? And I did give everybody a little sneak peek of the adorable baby Tomonagi. So, let's talk about the minions. Sadly, no, they are not all babies. But the first one is. Let's explain how minions work, though. Every player starts the game with one minion. According to Marcus, this was originally just for testing, but they were such a core part of the game that it stuck. When a monster makes it to a mutation site and mutates, you roll for the mutation on your board, and there's a chance that you could get a new minion instead of a mutation. And you can have up to 2 at once. Minions move and can fight just like the main monsters can. Sometimes they get used as direct support, fighting alongside the monster, or they can go off on their own to slow down and disrupt other players. I personally love the image of just like a little monster guy picking on your friends and bothering the military. It's really funny. There are 10 unique minions included in Monsters Menace the World. Let's start by going into more detail on the bizarre origins of baby Tomonagi. During the 2005 rampage, there were unsuccessful attempts to take out Tomonagi with a barrage of cruise missiles. They did, however, cause him to spawn a tiny copy of himself that has been dubbed Baby Tomonagi. He's like his colossal progenitor, but smaller, and a lot cuter. I just love him so much, he's so cute, look at him! As he's just a baby, Baby Tomonagi is very weak in combat, like most babies. And with the lowest stats of any monster or minion, he can't attack military units, only monsters and other minions. However, his parent monster, Tomonagi, gets a bonus for sticking close to its baby, and a revenge strike if baby Tomonagi falls. Don't mess with a monster baby! Baby Tomonagi is also designed to work well with its parent by tying into the extra attacks theme. It becomes kind of a giant bring your kid to work day, but work is menacing the world. Huh. Well, while it would be cool to have baby versions of every monster, the other minions bring a little more variety to the table, and one of the most interesting personalities in the game is Pollen Dust. Unlike most of the Titanic monsters, Pollen Dust is a gentle soul. She does not seek battle and is slow to anger. She would prefer a peaceful coexistence with the people of the world and her fellow monsters. Due to the devastation caused by the other monsters, however, humans have attacked Pollen Dust as well, and she is more than willing to defend herself. Since she can hold her own in combat, Pollen Dust has stats close to a playable monster. Most minions do not do 3 damage with their attacks. Thematically, though, she isn't a fighter first. She is helpful. She can help you advance your objective during the game, and unlike most minions, she can use the mutation sites and bring that mutation back to your monster. But not all minions are designed to work alongside monsters. Meet Captain Colossal. In an attempt to counter the monsters in 2005, a Marine willingly allowed himself to be subjected to experiments to increase his size, physique, and combat prowess. The years since the 2005 rampage have not been kind to Colossal, as he's led a lonely life in the remote highlands of the Cascade Mountains. Never one to run from a fight, however, when the monsters re-emerged, he reported for duty once more. Captain Colossal is the ultimate battlefield commander. His size and experience allow him to coordinate with his players' military units. Any of the players' military in or near his space receive a buff. And he's not entirely a monster like the other minions, so he can pass through spaces with any player's military unit, and is never hostile to his own military. In sharp, scary contrast to Captain Colossal, we have Tri-Ma, who craves only one thing: violence. No one knows the origin of this mysterious 3-headed creature. It looks nothing like any animal from Earth's present or past. It merely appeared one day, causing mayhem and destruction. Witnesses to its arrival could only remember the 3 monstrous heads striking in every direction, and that image continues to haunt the survivors. Whatever his origins, Tri-Ma is an extremely violent monster, even more extreme than his contemporaries, and he seems to relish in the fight, seeking out other monsters to dominate. Tri-Ma was meant to be a force of pure offense, so his ability allows him to gain more attacks. It's an exploding dice mechanic because if the additional attacker attacks roll a 5 or a 6, they also trigger the ability. With luck, he can dish out a lot of punishment. Originally, he was supposed to have a 3s theme: 3 move, 3 attack, 3 defense, 3 damage, and 9 health, 3 times 3. But 3 attacks proved way too powerful in testing. He is just a minion after all. The next minion is known as the Swamp Lasher. No one really knows where the Swamp Lasher came from, or even what it is. It rose out of the Louisiana swamp one day, a writhing mass of goo and tentacles, coiling around anyone attempting to approach it and dragging them into the morass. The Swamp Lasher was conceptualized as an undulating mass with many tentacles rising up from the body, or the water. Swamp Lasher is able to hold and immobilize military units. As it is focusing its tentacles on holding its prey, it becomes less effective in battle, having a reduced number of attacks. Paired with your monster or another minion, though, locking down military units can be very useful. Now, you've met Captain Colossal, but obviously during the 2005 rampage, there were more than just one attempt at stopping the monsters. Meet Mecha Monster. During the 2005 rampage, the United States military developed several attempted countermeasures to the rampaging monsters. One avenue in this effort was robotics. Built at great taxpayer expense, Mecha Monster was a robot large enough to go toe-to-toe with Tomonagi. Concerned that it might not be able to defeat monsters in battle directly, the designers built it with a self-destruct mechanism to hopefully take any monsters that defeated it out in one final explosion. After the rampage, Mecha Monster was quietly mothballed. When it was reactivated, instead of following orders, it went rogue and became a new threat on its own. As a human-built robot, Mecha Monster stats are impactful, high damage, but not very resilient, low defense and average health. It is a capable foil to the monsters, but one that will eventually be destroyed by them. Its unique ability represents its final defense mechanism, an explosion that will damage every other unit in its space when it goes down. Our next minion is Ixitla. Dragons and serpents are in the myths of many cultures around the world, having existed since the dawn of recorded history, or even before. The source of many of those myths is likely the feathered serpent Ixitla. She calls the jungles of southern Mexico home and has hidden there for millennia. Her seclusion and solitude was interrupted by Strigoi on his terrorizing path north from the Amazon. Her ability is based around being a flying serpent. She's got somewhat weaker stats, except for defense. She's very hard to hit because she's so agile and thin. But she is able to fly over military units, which are normally hostile to minions, and in doing so, she can move some of them with her to her destination, against their will. Everybody's heard of the abominable snowman. The next minion on our list is Frosty. Throughout the decades, Frosty was often glimpsed and credited as the abominable snowman. With the coming of the other monsters, he has emerged from the Himalayas to bring his chill to the world. It was thought he resided in the cold, frigid highlands of the Himalayas because he prefers the cold. In reality, he is the cold, chilling everyone and everything around him. Frosty's mechanical concept was very simple. He has an aura of cold around him. He slows reactions, he makes it harder to defend. All the monsters and minions, other than Frosty, in his space have a reduced defense value. Notably, it affects his player's monster as well, if they're present. So some care is required so that it doesn't backfire. For being minions, some of these sure are big. Meet Gargantus. On January 27, 1951, the first atmospheric nuclear test on the Nevada test site took place. Miraculously, one tiny praying mantis survived the blast. This lonely survivor rapidly grew to impossible size and was one of the primary instigators of the 2005 rampage. Despite his unparalleled speed, he was driven back in 2005 and went into hiding for 20 years. In the previous game in this series, there was a mutation card called High Octane Blood, which allowed a monster to attack first, and Gargantus was pictured in the art. That card was the inspiration for his ability here. His concept was that he had incredible speed despite his size, so his ability lets him attack even before monsters. The final minion we're going to talk about today is the Terror of the Skies. For millions of years, this Quetzalcoatlus hibernated near Krakatoa as the mountain built up, erupted, and rebuilt over and over again. After countless millennia of slumbering growth, it erupted from Anak Krakatoa in a conflagration that dwarfed the deadly volcano's 1883 eruption. He became a scourge over Asia and Australia, earning him the moniker Terror of the Skies. While hibernating underneath Krakatoa, Terror got several mutations. He has an armored carapace that makes him more resilient against other monsters, and he takes reduced damage from them. He also has a special affinity for the lava environment that kept him alive for so long and birthed him into the world. Lava has a regenerative phoenix-like effect on him, so he's able to come back to life once per game. That's all the minions. Which one was your favorite? Which of the main monsters are you excited to play as? Drop a comment on the video, let us know, make sure you like this, and, know that you're going into this game with a little more knowledge than your opponents. If your opponents don't also watch this video. Monsters Menace the World is available now in the Renegade web store, which is linked down below, or you can check with your friendly local game store. The game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and older, to enjoy in approximately 90 minutes. Do you have what it takes to become the most infamous monster in the world? Order a copy of Monsters Menace the World and find out. I hope that looked cool, because I have no idea.